Hello everyone, in this mini lecture we're going to talk about voltage dividers, which we're going to use a lot. Now let's briefly talk about how the voltage dividers work. Say you have a 5 volt signal and you want to get any voltage between the 5 volts and the ground. And actually all you need are 2 resistors. Basically it's like that. For example, here is the 5 volts and here is the ground. And actually all you need are 2 resistors hooked up between the 5 volts and the ground. Here is the R1, here is the R2. And we take a line out here to get the V out. Based on the value R1 and R2 and using the voltage divider equation, you can get any voltage between the 5 volts and ground. And the voltage divider equation is pretty simple, which is V out equals to the original voltage, in this case is 5 volts, times the bottom resistance, in this case is R2, and the R1 plus over R1 plus R2, and this is the overall resistance between the 5 volts and the ground. And this is the voltage divider equation, which is really useful. Let's talk about example here. Let's say you have R1 and R2, and R1 is equals to R2 equals to 1 k ohm, and 1 k ohm, and you will find that every time you have 2 resistors of the same value, you will find the V out is equals to the half of the original voltage. In this case, you will get 2.5 volts. It's really easy to understand. Look at the equation here. Every time you have R1 equals to R2, and you will end up with the V out equals to the half of the original voltage, which is the half of the 5 volts, which is 2.5 volts. It's really simple to understand. Now let's talk about the application of the voltage divider. A simple example is the potentiometer. Let's see here, this is a potentiometer, and basically the potentiometer work is there is a wiper here, and it goes back and forth along this resistance. And when you hook up the potentiometer between the 5 volts and the signal, what the wiper doing here is acting like just like the line over here, and except now there is only one resistor between the 5 volts and the ground. And when the wiper goes up and down, it will change the resistance of the top and the bottom. In this way, it essentially gives you a voltage selector, and you can fit into the Arduino pins. So if the wiper is stopped at the bottom, it will connect to the ground, and the V out will be 0. And if the wiper is stopped at the top here, it will connect to the 5 volts, and your V out will be 5 volts. And if the wiper is in the middle, you will get your V out can calculate by the voltage divider equation, which is like here. And I will show you an example on the 1, 2, 3 DDoS circuits. Here we have a simple potentiometer. I have it hooked up to one of the analog pins on the Arduino. I will talk a little bit more about analog inputs in another mini lectures. Basically, we have 3 connectors on the Arduino, and this one goes to the 5 volts, and this one goes to the ground, and the middle one goes to the analog input, which is A3 here. And the Arduino board has 6 analog pins, A0 to A5. Each of them can read values from the potentiometer, for example, and convert it to the 0 to 123, which is digital values, depending on the voltage from 0 to 5 volts you give them. And let's see what's going to happen when we turn the potentiometer. Here we open this Arduino code editor and open the serial monitor here. Okay, we start communication. And here we print the voltage and the digital value on this little window. And here we use this one to measure the voltage that the potentiometer giving to the Arduino board. And when we turn the potentiometer, we can see the voltage change from the to 500 millivolts, and when I tune it, you can see here the digital value also changed. When we turn the potentiometer from 0 to 5 volts, the digital value will change from 0 to 123. And here we can see the program we use to do this. It's pretty simple. Here, this one said that the potentiometer is hooked up to the analog input pin 3, and this is different from the digital pin we used before. And in this setup function, we use this one to initialize the serial communication. And in this loop function, here we use the analog read instead of the digital read. This one will read the value from 0 to 5 volts and assign a digital value from 0 to 1023. And this is a simple example about the potentiometer.